This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
And what's going on, Trojan family? Welcome to the USC LAFB show, live noon Pacific time on a beautiful Thursday in Los Angeles. It's why we live in the blessed place in the world, right? 70 degrees, had a little rain earlier in the week, and now it is an absolutely gorgeous day all across the Southland. Our Trojans will be flying out tomorrow morning, Friday, to much more, I guess, seasonal, you should say, fall weather. A little, rain in the forecast there in South Bend, which it typically is. I was there 2 years ago for that blowout loss at the hands of the Fighting Irish, and it was a pretty miserable, cold, rainy evening in Indiana. So it might be much of the same, but hopefully a better outcome for our Trojans. Thank you all for joining. Like I said, this is the USC LAFB show live. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Great show for you today as we preview this massive game, this massive rivalry game. I'll do a little recap of Lincoln Riley's press conference. I was just on that less than an hour ago on his weekly Zoom press conference. So, not a ton to get into there, but a little bit of there. Some midseason awards. We'll recap that real quickly. Some All-Americans on the watch list. Recap that. And then we'll just dive into this game. So much to get into with this game. Two top 25 opponents. I ranted last episode about my disdain for the AP poll, but for the purpose of ease of rankings, this is a top 25 matchup between these two squads. So, let's just get into it. Hope everyone's doing fantastic. Thank you all for hanging out with me. As always, every Tuesday and Thursday, noon Pacific time, right here on the USC LAFB YouTube channel. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't. That certainly helps us out. Hit that bell notification so you get notified whenever we go live. We're live 4 days a week now. Mondays and Wednesdays, 7 p.m. call-in show. Tuesdays and Thursdays with myself right here at noon. And then actually 5 days a week. So we do a post-game either Saturday after the game if it's a day game or Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific if it is a late night game. We'll see about this Notre Dame game, what we'll do. I was planning on being there, and unfortunately will not be able to make it. Tim Prangley will be there on the ground, boots on the turf, underneath Touchdown Jesus, taking some great photos of this great matchup. So he will be there, but I will be here in Los Angeles. So maybe we'll see how the game goes. Maybe we'll go live right after. If not, we'll be at 9 a.m. on Sunday, but we'll keep you guys all posted on that. All right, so Lincoln Riley press conference. Not a ton to get into with that. I did a big injury report. I'll do a final injury report tomorrow. So we did not get any injury news today, any additional, but obviously as I've been reporting, they'll have 4 running backs in Notre Dame with King Miller, Brian Jackson's good to go. And both freshmen, Harry Dalton and Riley Wormley will be there. So they actually have more depth at running back in this game than they did last week against Michigan, only dressed 3 last week. So they'll have the additional 4th back, obviously less experience and probably a drop off in talent and skill when you look at losing both your 2 starters. I think there's a ton of excitement around King Miller, rightfully so. He has looked fantastic. And obviously, I think Brian Jackson is a very good running back when he can be healthy. We just haven't seen him featured enough. But there's no denying losing Wayman Jordan and Eli Sanders is a massive loss. So we'll get into that more in the preview. But no real updates injury-wise from this. Elijah Page practiced this week, but we do not know for sure if he'll be good to go or not. So I'll talk about the preview, what we look for in this offensive line. Obviously, getting Page back would be a huge get, but don't know for sure. We haven't heard any updates. I'll see if I get anything more tomorrow as the team departs tomorrow morning for South Bend. Yeah, so I guess going on those injuries, Coach Riley asked about, with all this has happened, has that kind of changed his mentality as a play caller when you're, funneling out guys in and out on the offensive line? Obviously, there's been receiver injuries with Jacoby Lane missing time. And then even the depth there with Prince Strawn and Zacharias Williams, who's probably done for the year. So what has looked like as a play caller in terms of, maybe changing things based on personnel. And he said, I'm paraphrasing, obviously. He said, obviously you have to look at things from a talent perspective or what certain guys can do. Like no one else can do what Jacoby Lane does. Right. There are certain, and that doesn't mean other guys are less talented. They just may not have the same skill set that those guys have. So certainly you have to look at that, but he was very confident in the depth. I think that's proven itself. King Miller, point in case. So the one I'm curious to see is what this receiver room can look like behind Lemon and Lane. Tanuk Hines has flashed. He's going to be a really talented receiver. He already is really talented. He's going to be a really important receiver for this program moving forward. But how involved will he continue to be? Had that unfortunate drop last week that kind of ended up stalling a drive that was moving. I think that was the same drive that ended up kicking that 54-yard field goal, so still got points out of it. But unfortunate drop, it happens, especially as a true freshman, big moment. How does he bounce back from that? How involved is he after that? I asked about Prince Strawn last week to Coach Riley, and he said, he had a high ankle sprain, so he hasn't been on the injury report because he's been healthy enough to dress, but just has not been 100%. He's close. Is this the week we see him get more reps? Now, they haven't really needed it just because of how dominant Mekhi Lemon has been, how dominant Lane has been when healthy, and with the surge of this tight end play with Lake McCree and Walker Lyons, they haven't needed that depth at receiver. But we'll see in this Notre Dame game if they'll need more. I asked Riley just about the rivalry in general. This is the 20-year anniversary of the historic Bush Push. I mean, is there more an iconic play in college football? Obviously, if you're a USC fan, maybe not. Other fans would obviously look at, across their history. But Bush Push has to be up there, top 10 all time in college football, I would think. Maybe there's some bias coming from this side, but I would think it's up there for sure. So just asked him, 20 years ago, Lincoln Riley was a student assistant for Coach Leach at Texas Tech. Had just finished his playing career, quarterback for Texas Tech, and then got into the coaching ranks, student assistant, worked his way up to graduate assistant, then to wide receiver coach, then goes over to East Carolina. Just asked him about the play, what it meant to him, and, very, well thought out answer. It's a historical, iconic play. It means so much to this program, and it means so much to college football. So hopefully we'll see a Miller, a King Ping or something, if you will. King Miller pushing Maava, well, not pushing, but aiding Maava into the end zone on this one in what would hopefully be a big USC victory. So we shall see on that. Quickly, some awards, right? So Mekhi Lemon, Bishop Fitzgerald, and Wayman Jordan all named midseason All-Americans from Sporting News. So hats off, well-deserved by all three of those guys. Mekhi Lemon, obviously, I think he's the best receiver in the country. You can make the argument, Jeremiah Smith, I did a whole episode on that before. You're kind of looking at, it's a debate, right? I think Mekhi Lemon, for what he is, what he's done, I think he's the best receiver in the country. And he will be the first receiver taken in this year's draft. I'm putting my stamp down on that. If he isn't, and I've said this before, it's because GMs or the powers that be in the NFL will overthink it and go for a guy that maybe has higher ceiling in terms of intangibles, but those don't always translate and those don't always mean more. Like Mekhi Lemon is the best receiver in this draft as of right now, and he's proving it every week. Bishop Fitzgerald, I mean, of the transfers this year, there's no argument. He's the top transfer, right? I'm trying to think. Wayman Jordan, who technically wouldn't be a transfer, he'd be a commit because it comes from the JUCO ranks. So you could maybe argue him. Eli Sanders has obviously been impactful before he was injured. You could look at a few, but I think it's pretty obvious that Bishop Fitzgerald, 5 interceptions and being named as a midseason All-American. Bishop Fitzgerald's probably been he has been the most impactful transfer for this team and is very meaningful to this back end of the secondary. So, and then Wayman Jordan, again, such a shame, 4 to 6 weeks out, which essentially is the rest of the season. So that is unfortunate. Bishop Fitzgerald was also named a Lot Impact Trophy Player of the Week. So not going to touch on Michigan much more. We're past that. It's Thursday, but another accolade there as King Miller got like 4 accolades on there. I think King was also, I talked last week, but after the show, or not last week, I talked on Tuesday, but after the show, King was named also to the Sean Alexander Freshman of the Week as well. So, and then I think these last 2 are probably the most important. So the offensive line was named to the Joe Moore Award Midseason Honor Roll, which is the Joe Moore Award is the most outstanding offensive line in college football. This one I think has maybe the most meaning. And again, these awards, and we'll get past this quickly, but this offensive line unit was a group that had the most questions coming into the season. Them and Jade Mayava. By far and away, myself, Tim, Madman, Coach, Colin Cowherd, Matt Leiner, you name it. Every analyst out there in the space, it was this team is going to go as far as this offensive line and Jade Mayava have progressed this offseason. And the offensive line, with all their unfortunate happenings, with all their injuries, has not only not flinched, but has far and away exceeded all expectations that they had coming into this season. I mean, you think about the fact that, okay, let's just go down the timeline here quickly. Emmanuel Pregnon, and I'm not going to, he did what he thought was best for him. This is not any hate, but during the practices of the bowl game, locked in with USC, there was zero indication he was leaving. Coach Hansen had transitioned at that point to the offensive line coach. He spoke about him at practice, about how good of a coach he was, how excited he was to play with him for a year. He played in the bowl game at Texas A&M. So you thought on this offensive line, okay, great. You got Page coming back. You got Pregnon coming back. Like those are 2 pillars. And then you got to figure out, obviously, the other, and then Alani Noah, who was the starter all year. I know he needed some development, but you had 3 returning starters essentially, and then figure out center and right tackle. Well, then Pregnon shocks the world, enters the portal at the midnight hour, commits into Oregon, yada, yada, yada. So then USC goes to the portal and gets DJ Wingfield as the Pregnon replacement. Big body, athletic, talented, older guy, obviously, as we now know, from Purdue. This was going to be seen as the Pregnon replacement at left guard. Well, then that whole saga of the NCAA and eligibility and whatever, he ends up getting denied eligibility. Out. Heartbreaks for the kid. He missed out on the draft, all this NFL stuff. That whole story is just unfortunate. But then you look at USC. They brought in John Ray Reed, who was the expected starting center. And then it was like a lot of unknown. How did the guys develop that they had recruited prior to that? And so then we go into fall camp, and it's like, okay, we know Elijah Page is your starting left tackle. He's the best lineman on this team. We know, or we thought we knew, John Ray Reed would be your starting center. We had an assumption that Alani Noah would continue his role as starting right guard. And then it was, okay, how does everything else funnel in between left guard and right tackle? Early indications were, okay, great. Tobias Raymond, right tackle. That was the plan all along. And then at left guard was the big question, right? Was it going to be Micah Benuelos? Were they going to move some things around? Yada, yada, yada. So then we know, obviously, they end up moving Tobias Raymond to left guard, and young Justin Tanow ends up being your right tackle. There was a lot of questions about that. Is this the right decision? Offensive line looked great, fantastic. A lot of growth. Killian O'Connor ends up winning the starting center job, which was met with a lot of criticism. He looked fantastic. Great leader of the defense, or great leader of the offense. Well, then you have Page go down. You have Killian O'Connor go down. You sub in John Ray Reed. You move Tobias Raymond from left guard to right tackle. You move Tano from right tackle to left tackle, and you insert Micah Benuelos into left guard. And the unit has not missed a beat. Credit Lincoln Riley also for the play calling against Michigan. It was quick. It was decisive. It was effective. We'll have to see more of that against Notre Dame that has a good defensive front, missing some players, but has a good defensive front that wants to punch you in the mouth. So how does this offensive line with Elijah Page or not respond to that? So huge hats off to Zach Hansen, offensive line coach, Lincoln Riley, all the powers that be for what this offensive line as a unit has been so far this season. Well-deserved Joe Moore midseason honor roll. And finally, Coach Riley named to the Bear Bryant Coach of the Year watch list. It's kind of surprising. I mean, I don't know if it's surprising, but you thought he would have maybe been named to that preseason. But I think based on how the last 2 years went, that's why he wasn't. In my opinion, I would have, because that, if you have a jump from that year to this year, which is why he's on it now, sitting at 5-1, ranked top 20. So I've always been a believer in Riley. Obviously, there's been mistakes made. Obviously, there's been issues throughout his tenure. Obviously, it hasn't been at the speed that everyone wanted. This game is one of those statement games that can truly show his coaching prowess if they're able to get this win. And this now segues perfectly into the game preview. And before we do that, my friends, let's give a quick shout out to our friends over at Sleeper. How's that for segues? Number one sports app right now in the App Store or Google Play. Download Sleeper. If you're listening on audio, Sleeper, easy to spell. When you go to download it, go to make your first deposit. Make sure to use our promo code USC LAFB, all one word, USC LAFB. You're going to get a match bonus up to $100 on that first deposit. You don't have to do $100. You can do $10. They'll match you $10 to play with. And right now, you get a free $20 entry, no deposit needed. So if you don't want to deposit, but you can stack these deals, so you can deposit and get the match bonus and get the free 20. Or if you want to sign up, it's your first time signing up, you can just get the free 20 to test it out. And you might be asking, well, what do I need a deposit for? Season-long fantasy league, which I use Sleeper for. It's fantastic. They've got game-breaking stats. They've got a chat. All that is available. But they also have the daily fantasy, which is similar to a pick 'em. Just pick 2 to 8 players across any sport and pick more or less. So for this Notre Dame game, this USC Notre Dame game, Jade Mayava, more or less 230 yards. Usually the college lines for them come out a little later. So I'm curious. Let's see here. Let's do this. See if we can do this in real time. So Sleeper app just looks like that. Easy, intuitive. I use it for all my season long. I think it's the best fantasy app, so I think it's way better than ESPN and all those. All right, so let's see here. Obviously, NFL, baseball. I mean, Dodgers, 3 p.m. Another baseball does it so backwards. They're wondering why. I think they've gotten a little growth back, but a 3 p.m. Pacific time, local time start for an NLCS game, mind-blowing to me. But if you want to pick on that game, go to Sleeper. You got a couple hours here, 3 hours left or so. Okay, here we go. USC Notre Dame. So it looks, if you can see my screen, looks kind of like that. All right, so they got Mayava. Or here we go. Mekhi Lemon, 85.5 receiving yards, more or less. I mean, I love the more on that. Let's just do this in real time real quick. We'll make a quick card. Do this fast. Jeremiah Love, 92.5 rushing yards. Does SC's defense keep Love under 100? We'll go Homer today. We'll say yes. Lake McCree, more or less 25.5 receiving yards. I love the more on that. I mean, they're going heavy in the tight ends, which you got to love. Brian Jackson, anytime touchdown. Love that. He's your goal line dude. That gives you great odds there. So, yeah, just pick that. Got to pick 2 minimum, 8 max. You can win some real money. Have some fun. USC LAFB is the promo code. All right. Quickly, Notre Dame injuries. Their starting center, Ashton Craig, is out for the season. It's a big loss. Notre Dame predicates their brand of football on the trenches, right? They've got some solid skill players, which I'll get to, but it's predicated on the trenches and running the rock. So missing a center like Ashton Craig is going to be critical. Their backup center, I believe, is a redshirt sophomore, I believe. So we'll see what that looks like. We saw, in Michigan, we saw Jakeem Stewart play some zero tech, lined up right over the center. I'm curious how much we'll see that versus Silver and Devin Tompkins. I think this defensive line is so versatile, which Coach Henne, I've talked to him before about it, being able to move guys all over this defensive line. And, sometimes Jakeem's been at 3 tech. I think they've lined him out wide. Sometimes typically is in that 3 tech spot, but having him at 0 tech doesn't have the size of like those big nose tackles, but the speed is unmatched compared to those big nose tackles. So now you get to go up against a backup center and use that still strides and strength of Jakeem, but also the speed. I mean, that's how he's gotten some explosiveness in the backfield. So Devin Tompkins obviously can play in that nose if they want to do that. If they're doing, more of the 4-4-3 model, based on that one gap or whatever. So yeah, that's a big out. Defensive tackle Gabriel Rubio also out. Another big one. Edge Logan Thomas also out. So as of now, those are their 3 kind of premier guys out. I mean, those are big losses for Notre Dame. Micah Gilbert, who's like a backup receiver, has got some run. He's questionable with a hand. So we'll see what that looks like in that. But those 3 guys out is certainly quality players that Notre Dame will be missing in this one. And so when you look at this matchup, it has some similarities for sure to the Michigan USC matchup in terms of Notre Dame wants to win in the trenches. They want to be a defensive football team. The difference is offensively, Notre Dame has had a lot more explosive this year. CJ Carr has given them, as a redshirt freshman, he's a talented quarterback, young, but he's already played in some big games opening the season at Miami and against Texas A&M. So he's already had those big game moments. Obviously lost both of those, but, gave them a chance to win. They didn't lose because of CJ Carr. Has a big arm, can certainly unload it. They've got some talent at the wide receiver position, but obviously where they get a lot of their explosives in this running game. When you look at Jeremiah Love and when you look at Jadarian Price, probably the 2 best running backs in the country when you look at 1-2 punch. Wayman Jordan, Eli Sanders were a fun comparison, but I think obviously they won't play in this one, but I think you lean Love and Price. When you look at 530 yard, I mean, it's so evenly split. 530 yards for Love, 422 yards for Price, 8 touchdowns for Love, 7 touchdowns for Price. Love with a 5.3 yard per carry average, Price with a 6.7. Love with a 46, his longest run of the season is 46 yards. Price's is 49. So explosion from the running back room. So what's different about this game versus Michigan is with Michigan, if you could shut down the run, we all knew, and we did this in the preview, like if you could shut down the run and force Bryce Underwood to beat you, we liked our odds. Even with how the secondary has looked through the year, Michigan's passing offense has been nothing to write home about. So those odds, if you could slow down their running game, the odds were in USC's favor. And they did that and dominated. What makes Notre Dame more challenging is, first and foremost, you need to slow down the running game, but they can beat you through the air. CJ Carr has proven that they can be effective in the air. They're not an incompetent passing offense. And while their total offense is 465 yards per game versus USC's 552 yards per game, so nearly a 100-yard difference, you got to take into account some of the competition they've played. Now, obviously Miami and Texas A&M were great competition, but let's not sit here and pretend like NC State with what are they, 100th ranked defense or in that range is all of a sudden some like power football team they've played. Arkansas, Boise State, Purdue as well. So, you could say they've played a marginally tougher schedule than USC, but I wouldn't say they've played like some dominant, and they've lost both of them, right? They're 4-2. So it's not like they're 6-0 with 2 wins over those. So those making the argument like, well, they've played tougher opponents and they lost. So great. But this offense is much better than Michigan. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Just looking at some of the key metrics here, when you just look at passing offense, and we're going kind of USC defense versus Notre Dame offense. So Notre Dame throws for 292.8 yards per game. They have a 67.5% completion percentage, 13 touchdowns, 3 picks. Not as explosive in the passing game as they are in the running game. So they rely on, balanced attack, which is what USC did such a great job against Michigan. Notre Dame's offense is a balanced attack, rely a lot on the play action to open things up. So they kind of lull you with that run game, then lull you with the short passing game, and then try to break one after that. USC's defense we've seen, a little bit vulnerable against broken plays, big plays. Even last week in a much more sound game, I mean, honestly, I think a great defensive game, still had that one play, right? Carlos Nicholson, it was like a cover 2, just kind of was peeking too much into the backfield, out of position. Under was able to hit Marsh over the top, and then I think it was Fitzgerald. One of the safeties wasn't able to make the tackle, and you go for a 64 or so yard touchdown. That didn't kill you because you were up 3 scores at that point or whatever. You can't let that happen against Notre Dame. Not in this game, not on the road, not in the rain. So while the defense was great overall, still had some mistakes that they were able to work out. Can't let that happen in this one. Up against this Notre Dame offense, led by 2 of the best backs in the country and a very talented young quarterback who they're going to, face for the next 2 to 3 years. Let's see this here. Giovanni Tejada, what's up? Defense should run the 4-3 again, but Notre Dame can pass and will probably run 11 personnel more often than we have seen them do before. It's a great point, Giovanni. We talked to Coach Lynn yesterday at practice, kind of about Eric Gentry and his role kind of in that nickel spot. PFF, which I don't always trust totally in all their measurements, but had him lined up as like the nickel for the majority of his snaps. Now, I said before on Tuesday that while Gentry, I'm not trying to have like in pure pass coverage. I don't think that's a skill set. But in that nickel slot spot, if you're able to get a pass rush with 4, just because of his length and size, it's going to bode well. I mean, you think about that Illinois game, especially when you had Kevin Longstreet out there starting at nickel. Like they were hitting that quick slot slant every single play. Like how easy was it? It was a quick 5-yard slant that they were able to hit. I'm not having Gentry go deep in coverage. We don't want that. That's not what he's built for. But he's big enough and long enough that those quick slants he can neutralize. So I agree with you, Giovanni, that I do think USC can get away with playing more 4-3 because they can still utilize Gentry in that slot if necessary. Now, he's better closer to the line of scrimmage, and when he can come off the edge, I mean, his RPO game is unbelievable how he's able to read those RPO situations and ends up with tackle for losses or no gains. That's where you want him the most. But having Jaden Walker and Desmond Stevens on the field last week proved to be very formidable against the run, and I think will behoove this team in this matchup for everything I just said with those running backs. We saw the USC defense also basically turn to DeCarlos Nicholson and Marcellus Williams as their two starting corners. There was not a huge rotation. Now, Dan Lynn said yesterday as well, every game's a little different. We'll see how the matchups lean. We'll see how guys are performing. Those guys were performing great. There is no need to rotate. So that means, it doesn't mean that those are the two guys going forward for good, but those are your two starters. We'll see what the rotation looks like and how they're able to perform and hold their own and do their job in slowing down that attack. And obviously that allows then Ramsey, like everyone's been screaming at the wall for, Ramsey to be back in his natural spot at safety with the midseason All-American Bishop Fitzgerald. So this is a tough matchup for this defense. If they can play like they played last week, they will do okay. They're not going to, I don't think I've seen enough where I can say they're going to shut this Notre Dame offense down just because Michigan is so one-dimensional. Notre Dame has both facets of an offense, but they can hold their own. It won't be like the squeaky wheel against Illinois where, they were praying for turnovers to get a stop. They will be able to hold their own if they're able to do that schematically and play gap sound. So, I like this defense to be able to get stops when necessary. Let's go with that. Get stops when necessary. And obviously if you're able to get pressure with 4, that's going to obviously behoove you very well. Now, we know Dan Lynn will absolutely dial up some great simulated pressures. He'll dial up some blitz packages from the safety position. We saw Fitzgerald get his first career sack last week. We've seen DeCarlos Nicholson blitzing off the edge. We've seen Ramsey in blitz packages. So we know we'll see some of that, but you don't want to rely on that. Those should be like surprise third down blitzes that then get you off the field. So hopefully this defensive front with Devin Tompkins, with obviously Cam Crawford, Anthony Lucas, Braylon Shelby, with the rotation of Jakeem Stewart and Keyshawn Silver. We'll see Carlin Jones some because obviously Floyd Bicard is going to be out for the next few weeks. So we'll see Carlin Jones, the redshirt freshman. So what kind of pressure can they surmount with just 4? Now we flip over to USC's offense versus Notre Dame defense. What's up, Jake? Fitzgerald is I'm guessing, beast. Bro, I hope he gets 2 more interceptions. The whole word all week was, hey, he's just in the right place. Not just, but he's in the right place at the right time, which as a safety is what you need to be. Because you're typically not in man coverage as a safety. Be in your spot, be where you're supposed to be, reading the eyes of the quarterback, reading the defense. And Fitzgerald's been that in spades. So as I said earlier in the show, he is by far their most impactful transfer this year. By far. So he's been fantastic, really athletic. Of course, I didn't even mention Jahdae Abasari. Need to see Jahdae and Jakeem get some pressure up the middle against their second string center. Exactly, Giovanni. I was saying earlier how Notre Dame's out there starting center. We saw Jakeem Stewart line up at zero tech at the nose spot last week a few snaps against Michigan. Doesn't have like the size of a true nose like Jahdae Abasari might, but he has the quickness and the strength and just the speed to beat, those interior gaps. And with the backup center, gets me excited. Gets me excited to see those two guys eat there, hopefully, with that speed and that size combined. So looking at offensively versus Notre Dame defense, this is not as good of a Notre Dame defense as we've seen in years past with Coach Freeman. Right? Still a solid unit, but is definitely not as good as we've seen. Let's see here. Looking at some of these statistics. So what we look at, Michigan plays a combo of kind of man and zone. Notre Dame is going to play a heavy man defense unless they switch things up entirely this week. But they'll play a heavy man. So I bring that up because this is where we'll see, hopefully, or how we can see kind of a different shift in Lincoln Riley play calling. When you play against man, or at least a good man defense, the screen game is a little bit more difficult. So the screen game with your running backs, those plays that I say is my favorite play in the offense right now, when they put Walker Lyons or Lake in motion, and as soon as you snap the ball, he just leaks out on basically 1 yard depth. Jade Maiava rolls out with him. If there's someone there, he runs it. If not, dumps it off to him. It's like a guaranteed 10-yard gain. They've done it on 4th and 1s multiple times. They've done it on goal line situations. That becomes more difficult in man. And this is where, Lincoln Riley, depending on his play, and this is going to be up on Jade Maiava pre-snap. And this is why, for those that many of you know, Trojan fans are super smart. But for those who don't know, this is why you see when you put guys in motion, it can kind of trigger what the defense is. If someone's following that guy specifically, it's in a man coverage. If they're passing it off to someone, you're looking at more mesh concepts or zone concepts. So with man, we'll see what the screen game can look like. And it's going to change things up a little bit. You're going to have to be a little bit more nuanced, a little bit more creative, a little bit more deceptive in kind of what those screens are, because there will, in man, there'll always be someone dedicated to the tight end, to the running back. So how do you get them open and available in that cadence will be interesting. And that's a huge part of this offense right now. So that will be the challenge for USC, is how to spring that screen game. Where it bodes well for USC in man coverage is good luck stopping Mekhi Lemon, who is just eating up every man coverage, every defender. I mean, good luck covering one-on-one Mekhi Lemon. Now, obviously, you can do different concepts that, have shadows. You have man coverage plus some like safety help over the top, or safety help even down low. But this matchup definitely bodes better for USC. Because if they do that, if they decide, okay, we can't let Mekhi Lemon is just eating against man coverage, we're going to shadow him or shade him with one of our other safeties. Okay, well, then you got Jacoby Lame one-on-one. Tinook Hines one-on-one. I like Walker Lyons or Lake McCree on those seam routes. If you're going to pull a safety over to the boundary, Mekhi Lemon's usually in the slot, but if they run routes and Lincoln Riley's smart, and this is what he's going to do, if you're running flag routes or out routes and that safety is going to pull with Lemon, well, then you got that seam route open all day, depending how you line that up with Walker Lyons or Lake McCree. Or on the opposite side, you got Jacoby Lane one-on-one, whatever route he's doing. So this type of man will bode well for the receivers. It'll be a challenge for the screen game. So that'll be kind of the chess match we'll see with Coach Riley and Coach Freeman, one offensive genius against one defensive genius, and how they're going to do that. And the other thing, and the last thing, and we'll kind of wrap this up here soon, is USC has done such a good job running the football. They've been balanced in attack. We've seen them run power. We've seen them run counter. And counter can run really well against really any defense if you run it well, and how effective they have so far this season. But it definitely can behoove well against man coverage as well. And depending on, obviously it's running, so it's different than a pass game, but running that counter, you can split guys out. And when you're in man coverage, you're going to spread the defense out. If they're not playing zone, then you spread those receivers out in your run counter, and you're up against a much smaller defensive front, or just less numbers in the box. And you can let Alani Noah, Justin Tano, those pulling guards and tackles just absolutely eat, and watch King Miller, as we've seen, use his vision between the tackles and crease these tiny little dwellings of openings and increase it for 40 plus yards. So I like the matchup USC offense against Notre Dame defense. The matchup of USC defense against Notre Dame offense is going to be one where if USC can get a couple stops, they don't have to be as dominant. I don't know if they will be. Obviously, we hope they are. But this is a much better offense than they faced. Probably the best offense they faced this year. I don't know about the best quarterback. I think Luke Altmaier is a really good quarterback. CJ Carr is going to be really good. Just still a freshman. So yeah, we'll see. But great matchup. I have it. So the over-under on this is like 59.5. USC right now is a 9-point dog. So clearly the market does not believe in USC yet. They need to see more. I don't know. I just feel different about this team. I wrote about it after Michigan State. I know there was some ugly stuff in that game, but this is not last year's USC team. I think they have turned a corner. They haven't turned the corner and blown it open yet. This game would do that if they can get this win. But this is a team I think that's going to take it can beat any team in college football. They haven't proven that they will beat every team in college football yet. They haven't proven that they can't lose the heartbreaker yet. But they've proven, I think, that they can beat any team. So I'm going to take USC in this one. I think there's just a lot of momentum in the program right now. I think because of how good the run game has been, and again, this is going to be the challenge. Because as good as King Miller looked, not as good as he looked, as good as he was, as dominant as he was, as big as getting Brian Jackson is, Notre Dame has tape on him now. Like King Miller had played some reps, but Michigan was fully preparing for Wayman Jordan and Eli Sanders. Not saying that that's an excuse for them, but it does give you a little bit of element of surprise when you get kind of this upstart running back come in and there's just not a lot known on him. Now, they were just getting punched in the mouth by USC's offensive line and King Miller was able to hit tiny little gaps. So that's a different thing, but there's a lot more out there now for Notre Dame to prepare for. So I don't know if the run defense or the run offense will be as dominant as it's been, but we do know that Lincoln Riley is committed to it. And in a somewhat rainy game, you have to be. Jade Mailava, in my opinion, is a top 5 Heisman contender. But this is a game with the rain. You don't want to put it on him. Don't want to have to put it on him to go win you the game. I think he can do that. If he can limit the one mistake he's made the last 2 weeks. But you want to lean on this run game. And Paulie Walnuts, what's up, baby? Hope you're doing well. Harry Dalton with a bunch of victory signs. I love Harry Dalton. Tough ass to tell a true freshman to go have a big game in South Bend in potentially the last rivalry matchup. But dude is built like a dominant college running back. He has a bright future. I talked about it last show. Like he's a brick and has the size. He plays like Wayman Jordan in terms of his vision in between the tackles, the size. King Miller plays like Eli Sanders a little bit. So USC obviously is building. They have a type, right? And how they're going to build this. Let's see this here. Jake, have you heard Notre Dame fans don't trust their DC like how USC fans didn't trust Grinch? Well, maybe not that bad, but they don't like him much. I hope Riley rips him apart. Yeah, I mean, any fan base is going to not trust their USC's fan base. Was saying that about Dan Land just 2 weeks ago. So, totally get what you're saying, Jake, 100%. But I think any fan base, when you show any cracks or struggles, there's going to be some moaning and some discontent. Now with Grinch, it was a year and a half of that, so nothing changed. We'll see what Riley can do against this Notre Dame defense and specifically the front. So we shall see. But so yeah, prediction. I like I said, USC in this one. It's a 59.5 over under. 9-point favorite, as I mentioned, Notre Dame is right now. A lot of people are saying this is going to be a shootout. A lot of people think this is going to be a shootout. Take the over. It's going to clear easily. I've seen 31-34. I've seen 42-45. I wouldn't be surprised by that because both these quarterbacks can sling it. Both these defenses have not proven dominance consistently. We haven't seen like multiple weeks of dominant defensive play from either of these units. But I kind of think with the way the matchup works, with the potential rain, I kind of think it'll be a lower scoring affair. Now, I'm not saying like a 13-10 game by any means, but I kind of think we'll see some more defensive stops, maybe some turnovers just because of the rain and the sloppiness. For 7:30 local kick, so a late game on the East Coast. So I'm going to go, I like USC to win outright. but I'm going to go 27-24. Not like a low scoring game, but it doesn't hit 30s in this one. You know what? No. USC is going to hit 30. 30-24. USC wins by 6. Maybe Notre Dame gets a late touchdown there. I don't know. Maybe I'm too confident. I just feel good about this USC team of debunking this narrative that they're up against. And I think they can do it and prove that they are truly a physical team. And last week against Michigan was not just an anomaly. So there you have it. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out on this preview show. Beautiful Thursday, USC LAFB. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. Be back all weekend. Plenty of coverage over at LAFBnetwork.com. Join our forum. We got a message board, brand new. I'm building it up. LAFBnetwork.com. Just go to forum in the menu there, and you can see our message board. We'll have intel there, injury updates, a lot of just quick hitting stuff. Plus, we just want you to engage, interact. It's completely free. Doesn't cost anything. You just have to, like anything else, just sign up with like an email just so you have an account. It doesn't cost anything. So check out that. We got merch available. You can find it right here on the channel or at LAFBnetwork.com. Just go to the shop button. Plenty of USC merch, plus other Dodgers. Got a great Shohei shirt. Again, Dodgers playing in 2 hours now. Got a Lakers shirt. So check out that and become a member. You can sign up for a membership right here on the USC LFB channel or at LFBnetwork.com. Join our community. It helps us out a ton. Plus, we're going to donate part of those proceeds to help youth sports initiatives right here in Los Angeles. So you're getting great content. You're helping the team out at LAFB. Plus, you're helping youth sports here in LA. You guys rock. This is fun. I'm loving doing this midday show bi-week or 2 days a week. Maybe we'll add more. We'll see. Got a lot of stuff in the pipeline that I'm excited about. We're doing some more high school stuff. I won't announce it yet, but with recruiting and SoCal High School, I'm going to start doing a lot more in that field. We actually have something that no one does, that we have some licensing that we just kind of signed a deal for. So that's coming soon. I'll announce that when it's more, all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, but some exciting stuff here at the LAFB network. So thank you as always, everyone. If I don't talk to you, enjoy the game, but I will have some more videos out tomorrow, Friday, leading up to this massive Saturday matchup. Anyone traveling, be safe, stay dry, have a blast. And as always, fight on.
Tires matter. They're the only part of your vehicle that touches the road. Tread confidently with new tires from Tire Rack. Whether you're looking for expert recommendations or know exactly what you want, Tire Rack makes it easy. Fast, free shipping, free road hazard protection, and convenient installation options. Go to TireRack.com to see tire test results, tire ratings, and consumer reviews, and be sure to check out all the special offers. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.